fit.
A lot of brands are offering longer travel versions of existing models. I mean, why not, right? But it's not that simple. Bigger suspenders will shorten the reach and slacken the seat angle. That's why we thought this modified Arktos 29 would do well in Tucson's rugged front country, because Alchemy went in the opposite direction.
It seems a little bit more natural to do this because you're not like raising the bottom bracket and like slackening the head angle, which kind of like those are performance suffering sort of things sometimes, and then you're slackening the seat angle. Like with the like travel down version, you're kind of doing the opposite stuff, which that actually is warranted on a trail bike, right? So it seems to make a little bit more sense. I think the theory has validity.
Yeah. And then also what you're starting with, the bones of the bike are still in that more aggressive realm. So you get things we like. You get a little bit stiffer, a little stronger frame.
Yeah.
And you get something that's kind of built around burlier shocks, which you were saying that all these bikes deserve.
Yeah, I really wish that this category of bike had a little bit more advanced dampers on them. 120 mil, 130 mil bikes. The geometry now, you can ride these things fast and hard, and they deserve more. And I really, really like that this Arktos comes with a DPX2 shock. That's a really nice spec. You can really feel the difference.
Yeah, there's a lot of other bikes. There's like, I wish I could dial in the low-speed compression damping a little bit on this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even though there's not a lot of travel, it's that much more crucial to get it to feel the way you want it to feel.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have that on this.
That's true, and kind of regarding the low-speed compression, I thought this bike pedaled so well, and then I was like, oh, I wonder if, since it pedals so well, I wonder if I can make the suspension a little bit, more sensitive. And I noticed that the low-speed compression was all the way turned off. It was already super fast. And so I think maybe even a lighter tune on the shock could help, because then it would just give you extra flexibility to make the bike even more sensitive. But like that, regardless of where that DPX2 sort of is sitting, it does a better job of moving oil and managing forces.
This was also a 130 millimeter travel bike. A lot of our bikes were less than that, but we tend to favor more travel when we get it. And we noticed that, I think, a little bit on the climb too. This is a very smooth climbing bike. It's a very supportive feel as well. And you had mentioned traveling down. Sometimes when you travel down, you also end up getting a little bit more mid-stroke support on some of the shocks, as we saw with that Z-Road from southwestern Utah. But this bike, super smooth climbing up, nice use of that 130 millimeters, very supportive.
I would go so far as to say that this bike climbed better than even the Ripley or the Trail 429.
Yeah, and like in these conditions, especially where everything is pretty chunky and square edged, more travel does help with traction, especially when you're kind of out of the saddle. And yeah, I think in this case, maybe not on smooth stuff, but in this case, in the rough, more travel is excellent. And this bike manages really well. Kinematically, it pedals well, so it can like have a little bit more travel and not suffer from it.
Alchemy's signed suspension linkage achieved, better than nearly any bike in this travel range, the elusive hover bike effect. Without wallowing, it floated over any reasonable bump we asked it to. The chassis around that linkage is just as refined, and it suited this bike's defiance of the trail genre perfectly.
Another thing to notice is that you don't have a water bottle inside of the front triangle. So people are getting more and more picky about that. It's just worth noting, there are bosses on the outside of the down tube.
Yeah, and fanny packs cost like $40.
Sick,
so
dude.
Just run one of those.
Another thing that was nice to see on this bike, this is available currently as a frame only, but our test bike came with 36 on it. I think we only had one other bike in this test, the Commensal, which had a 36, but man, oh man, was it nice having a 36.
Yeah, I sure hope, I mean, we don't know right now at the time of filming what's gonna happen with the spec, but I sure do hope they offer that grip too. Like, that is a money setup.
Yeah, right now, frame only, it's $3,000, which for something kind of unique and boutique-y like this, I mean, it should be said, a lot of people see Alchemy and they think of the original 27.5 Arktos where they did them in the US. This one's only being done in Asia, but the quality, fit, and finish, I mean, we know that it doesn't suffer because of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make them any less handmade, it's just a different person that's hand making it somewhere far away instead of close.
Yeah, well said.
So size-wise for this bike, length-wise for reach, it is pretty conservative compared to some other bikes these days. So It might warrant up. If you're used to some of those other longer bikes, it might warrant going up a size.
And I think the bike itself warrants it. I mean, just because of the more advanced damping and the burlier fork that this particular build came with. I think that it deserves to go a little towards that all mountainy spectrum in the feel. So I think you should just lean into it.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's got a much steeper seat tube angle. It's 75.5, which is great for right now, and it kind of lends itself to that all mountain sort of feel with a 66 head tube angle. So it's definitely ready for it, but it would be nice as a little bit longer wheelbase bike with those numbers.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of 120 rear travel bikes in this bunch, and this being a little more is kind of in line with the way trail bikes have been going with that little longer travel. I think as geometry is getting more advanced, that isn't all that necessary for a conservative trail bike, but this one, I wouldn't call this a conservative trail bike. I mean, it really bridges that gap from trail to all mountain without having any cost whatsoever to the climbing. But I mean, I'm gonna just go out and say it. This is my favorite bike of the test.
Sick.
Yeah, it just mixes everything that I want a bike like this to have. I mean, I'm not a mid-travel kind of guy. I mean, my main bike is a 165 rear 29er. Like, that's what I ride everything on. If I were to get a mid-travel bike like that, I would want it to do everything that this bike does.
Though it barely qualifies as a mid-travel trail bike, that's kind of what we liked about the ultra-capable Arktos 29 ST. Good enough shocks that it felt at home going down our rowdy test track, and good enough linkage that it felt at home going up it. We've got the full review and the rest of the Bible roundtables at bikemag.com.